Saints Vikings preview with the Pro Football Focus. Fellas, this game before, I would say this week, I had penciled in as a perfect spot for the Saints. You know, when Kirk Cousins went down and it was Jaron Hall, I was thinking Jaron Hall, a rookie versus the Saints defense, like that is what we need. That's a perfect spot, even though it's on the road. Josh Dobbs comes in, and all of a sudden, not that Josh Dobbs is great, but all of a sudden you have to face a capable backup. You know, and that's a big difference to go from a rookie to a capable backup with some momentum after last week. Now, you could say, and I would hear the argument, that the Vikings had an emotional high last week. So they're kind of on a, not a letdown spot, but a letdown spot, which I think favors the Saints. The Saints are, they're in a weird spot too, because I want to say they have a lot of momentum right now. I want to say they're clicking. I want to say they're playing better. I want to say all that stuff, but the Chicago game left a lot to be desired. Again, +5 in the turnover battle, and you win by 7. You don't cover, you at home. And yes, Indy was good, but then we kind of dropped off against Chicago, and we're notoriously bad in the spot of a favorite. Dennis Allen might be now the worst head coach in history against covering the spread as a favorite. And Derek Carr has been bad as a starter, or as a starting quarterback, as a favorite too. So we're good on the road, but the favorite role, it does kind of make me nervous. I think the Saints are better. I think Minnesota's overvalued because of Dobbs' performance last week. So I feel good about this game. I feel good about the Saints going into it.
New Orleans Saints at the Minnesota Vikings. Saints favored by 2.5 here. A couple 5-4 teams. Saints maybe finally hitting their stride these last couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And the Vikings, of course, they're hot. 5-4 now, or 5-4 now after an 0-3 start. And Josh.
Yeah, I think you're also getting Minnesota at just a high point. You know, if you're betting on Minnesota, I would say the value is kind of sucked out of the team, because what they won 4 straight, I think is what they just said. And the Dobbs story, you know, is this really a fair price for Minnesota? Probably not. I say this a lot, but if you're trying to bet Minnesota, I would just tease them. I would tease them. Classic Wong teaser. I'd get them up to 8.5. Find you a tease partner and go that way. But I wouldn't be looking to back Minnesota here at +2.5. The Saints. That's what's so interesting, is that it is kind of like the Saints are hitting their stride. But then you look at last game, it's like, well, if we would have been hitting our stride, we should have won that game by 17, 21 points. So we are doing a lot better, or a lot of things better. Like if you look at, we broke down a lot of tape this week, and we looked at a lot of analytics, and everything is trending up for the Saints. Even if it isn't reflective in the Bears score, I'm trying not to get super bogged down in that result, because the play calling, Carr's play, Taysom, all the stuff we're doing on like a micro level is better. The Saints have been kind of up and down with their performances. So if we consider Indy an up and Chicago a down, that would lend us to the Saints having a big time performance against Minnesota.
Dobbs.
It's only one team. Yeah, only one team in the NFL has a longer win streak than the Minnesota Vikings.
They're playing well, man.
And it's not the 7-1 team, by the way, either. it's Jacksonville.
Jaguars. Yeah.
And they did it with Dobbs, with just in a backup role, not even knowing the cadence. I mean, didn't know anything. Team not knowing anything.
Didn't know his teammates, didn't know the cadence, didn't know the plays, knew nothing.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
He had a fun Instagram post showing Creed and everything.
I'll to say this too, and nothing against Josh Dobbs, but if your analysis on this game is that Josh Dobbs is good, or that Josh Dobbs makes the Vikings better, I would say that's probably wrong. He just got waived. You know what I mean? Like it's a good story, but I would put virtually no stock into Josh Dobbs as like a starting quarterback. I heard some people this week saying, is Josh Dobbs the future in Minnesota? Guys, my guys, he was unemployed 10 days ago. So I don't know about him being the future. This is a game the Saints have to win. I mean, you're on the road, yes, but you've been good on the road. You're the favorite. You got the much better roster, the much better quarterback. It is a coaching disadvantage. Minnesota's got 2 good coaches in O'Connell and Flores. but you should be able to take advantage of this. And even if Justin Jefferson is back, horrible game, horrible spot for Justin Jefferson. You come back against Marshawn Lattimore, against one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, especially against big-time receivers. Lattimore has, in his career, he has shown up against the big-time receivers, and he's kind of that he gets ready for those games. He's always elevated his play against the big matchups. So Justin Jefferson coming off of an injury and having to go one-on-one with Marshawn Lattimore is brutal. So if Jefferson comes back, that might suck even more value out of the Vikings line, because people may say, "Oh, JJ's back. Boom. Let's back the Vikings." I would hesitate. I would actually look at fading Jefferson receiving yard props.
Yeah. I mean, okay, the Josh Dobbs thing was fun last week. He played well last week. It was all sparked by, his ability to scramble, essentially. Like that's what started the comeback.
That always is problematic for defenses. Whenever you have a quarterback who can just run around and scramble and extend plays and things like that, that makes it so hard for a defense, and it makes it so easy for an offense, which is why, like you just said, Dobbs had success. He didn't have to know the cadence and the plays and the team and the teammates' names and all that stuff if he's just doing it with his legs and he's just running around. We saw that with Tyson Bagent against the Saints, where the Saints were fine defensively except for Bagent running around and dumping the ball into the flats. When you can create that extra element of a play, whether it's dumping the ball off or running for a first down or using your legs or whatever, a lot can happen. The Saints have been bad against running quarterbacks. Dobbs can move. He's not Michael Vick, but he can move around a little bit. He will try and run. So that's going to be the first thing we have to watch as fans is, can we stop the Josh Dobbs running the ball? Can we keep him in the pocket? Can we force him to throw? Can we force the Vikings into more of a natural game plan?
It was that crazy play where he was backed up to the 32 and ends up getting a first down at like the 3-yard line. The Saints have got this aggressive defense. They're going to be aggressive up front, but they're going to be aggressive with the receivers as well. Like they beat up receivers. They challenge throws at the catch point. One of the most amazing things about that game to me was, despite knowing nothing, Dobbs didn't put the ball in harm's way a lot in terms of throwing. Now, there were fumbles, etc., but I was amazed how few sort of bad decisions with the football he made. Yeah. Even just, you would have expected multiple miscommunication plays where I'm throwing here thinking a receiver is going to be there anyway.
See, I think the opposite. I think when you are in a situation like Dobbs was in, you shrink everything so much that there aren't any risky plays. There aren't any you're not calling plays that need communication. Dobbs is, I would assume what he was doing last week was as safe as possible. So to me, it's no surprise that he didn't turn the ball over.
It wasn't, because I don't know the play. And it didn't happen. So are the Saints going to be able to manufacture a couple of those really big passing mistakes from him? Because if they are, I think that's enough to win the game. But if Dobbs can keep it clean again, between the offensive scheme and his athleticism, there's enough there.
I always feel like the Saints' defense, their pass defense is maybe better than it is. And it could just be because over the last few years, they have those elite shutdown types of games. This year, the Saints, 12th best EPA per play allowed in the pass game. But as we saw last week, Paulson Adebo is playing great, making plays on the ball. Marshawn Lattimore.
That's the thing with the Saints, is that they're so high risk, high reward. The Saints are one of those defenses where at their best, they are forcing turnovers, they're flying all over the place, they're getting sacks, they're pressuring the quarterback. But because they're so aggressive, they can get burnt a little bit. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that style of defense. The Saints, that's when they're the most fun to watch, is when the defense is really aggressive and really putting pressure on the offense.
Lattimore is still there. I do wonder, from a Minnesota perspective, are they just really good at receiver beyond Justin Jefferson? Or are they good, better than we thought, with Addison and what they've gotten from guys like KJ Osborne, what they've gotten at tight end from TJ Hawkinson? Are they just better than we anticipated? And it actually would have been, when Justin Jefferson gets back, and if Kirk was still there, they're actually really dangerous.
Yeah, which is only a week away.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a good group of weapons. Like Hawkinson, Addison has been really good. We know how good Justin Jefferson is. Depends on how you feel about Alexander Madison, I guess. But the Vikings have put together a good core of weapons to complement Justin Jefferson.
By the way, like they've activated him essentially now.
Jefferson's practicing, and I'm not saying they're going to be. Look, Kirk Cousins is better than Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
The Josh Dobbs story is amazing.
Yeah.
But maybe Minnesota's even more dangerous in the passing game than we anticipated because of Addison's emergence and what the trickle-down effect of everyone else stepping up without Justin Jefferson.
I mean, I think
that matchup, I'm saying, with the Saints defense is a good one here.
Yeah, I think Addison is very good. Having said that, Addison is now, I don't know if this is a great.
I think it's a bad matchup for the Vikings, really. I mean, they just laid it out of like what the Vikings want to do, how dangerous they are in the passing game, and the Saints are the perfect team to stop that. You know, they're the perfect team. Let's say Jefferson doesn't play. You think, I mean, Addison is good, but Addison is not going to be good against Marshawn Lattimore. You know, like the Saints are the team to take away what they want to do. They are the team to, especially with Josh Dobbs. Like if Kirk Cousins was there, sure. But Dobbs and those receivers and trying to get some space and trying to get open and trying to exploit the Saints defense, that is not going to be easy for them at all.
Matchup for them. So Addison is very good. The characteristic of those New Orleans DBs is aggression, physicality.
Yep.
That's still the area of Addison's game that you have the most concerns about. There was another play,
yeah, of course.
I think last week, where ball's in his hands, hit comes in, ball comes out of his hands. Like, remember we talked about that the first time it happened, a couple of times in a single game, and you're like, was that just two quote-unquote freak instances, but back-to-back, or is that like a thing that highlights his relative lack of strength and size? It happened a third time. It's still small sample sizes. It might just be a run of 3 plays where that's the thing, or that might be you're not as.
It takes a lot to get used to. You know, I mean, he played at USC. You play in the Pac-12, it's a little different getting hit in the Pac-12 than getting hit in the NFL. So I don't think we need to worry about Addison's strength, I guess, but it's something that you certainly have to adjust to as a rookie wide receiver.
Strong as Nuke Hopkins or T. Higgins or, guys that are bigger than you. So this is another test where the thing the Saints are going to be testing is that physicality and that strength and that kind of thing. So if Addison isn't able to be a big factor in this game, now you're turning to KJ Osborne, to Brandon Powell, who's been pretty good actually, to TJ Hawkinson, to other players in that offense. It is different.
Other side of the ball, after weeks of expecting the Saints to break out, I think they have these last couple weeks offensively, looking much better. Taysom Hill getting involved, and I feel like
we know what Taysom has to do. We've covered it in depth here. He needs 40 yards or more. That's about it, really. We need Taysom to be the Band-Aid for our red zone issues, for our short yardage issues, for converting first downs, stuff like that. So Taysom is very important. I think the Saints are hitting a stride. The more we watch of their videos or of the gameplay, and the more we react to the film and stuff like that, it's so obvious to me that they have made a shift in how they're calling plays in the scheme. Now, I'm not saying Pete Carmichael is Kyle Shanahan, but he is listening. He's being more creative. They're pushing the ball downfield. It is coming together. I know it's hard. A lot of people are still stuck in really hating the Saints offense, but we're closer to where we wanted to be. What have I said all season long? We need a top 10 defense, really like a top 5 defense, and we need somewhere around the 12th best offense in the NFL. If we're above average offensively, if we're 10 would be really high, but if we're like 12, somewhere in there, 12, 13, we can win. We can win playoff games. Right now, I believe we're like 13th in yards, and we're like 15th in scoring. And that's after the first 4 games, we were averaging 15 yards a game, or 15 points a game. So we've made tremendous strides in the last 3 or 4 games here, where we were a bottom of the NFL offense, for sure, 100%. And now we are above average, and we're trending. So this isn't the best version of the Saints. We're getting better. We're improving. The Saints, if they keep that up, they could be a pretty hard set 11, 12, 13th best offense in the NFL. And that's exactly what we need. As a Saints fan, I would tell you, be cautiously optimistic. If we see more of the same with this offense in this game, and we see Carr pushing the ball, we see everyone getting involved, we see Taysom kind of continuing his run, I think we can assume that the Saints are figuring things out. After this game is the bye week, After that is Atlanta. So this is a pretty decent spot for the Saints to focus on this game, get into the bye, get ready for Atlanta. They got to win this game. We can't drop games. We know that. We've talked about it. The Saints' schedule is so easy. They have to take advantage of these matchups. They have to take advantage of the fact that they're playing Josh Dobbs. I don't care about Josh Dobbs' aerospace engineering degree. I don't care about Josh Dobbs' story. I don't care about any of that stuff. The fact of the matter is Josh Dobbs is a career journeyman backup who was waived and picked up by the Vikings last week. So there's no excuse for this defense and Dennis Allen to not dominate this game. I think the Saints do win this game. I think the Saints win this game convincingly. I think this is a good performance for the Saints. I think it's a good spot for the Saints. I think they're riding a lot of confidence. And I think they're going to put it on them. In my mind, I'm thinking, I think we win running away. I really do. I think I'll say 27-13, something like that. I think we match up well against Minnesota and we light them up. I hope I'm not disappointed, but I'm very positive right now about this team. I'm very optimistic about what I'm seeing from the Saints, how they're handling things. It's a good spot, like schedule-wise. Like none of that stuff is against us. And the Michael Thomas, this is going to sound crazy, but Michael Thomas getting his whole arrest situation this weekend, I think is going to light a fire. I think Michael Thomas will have a big game. I would tell you right now, I usually give a bet out during these previews. I'm betting Michael Thomas receptions. I'm betting Michael Thomas yards because he didn't have any catches last week. And this whole arrest news story thing that happened Friday night, Saturday, I think is going to have him ready to roll. So I'm high on Michael Thomas this week.
At the right times. Again, our friend Greg was like, hey, I wasn't expecting Taysom Hill to have maybe his best season at 33 years old, whatever he is, without Sean Payton. But here we are, Taysom Hill having a game like last week where he's throwing for a touchdown and he's catching a touchdown. And maybe
Taysom's a good example too, where Taysom is a great example of how the coaching staff has kind of evolved and got more creative. Before, Taysom was lost. And I would put a lot of that blame on Carmichael and Allen. But Taysom has kind of found his magic again. And that's not a coincidence that the team has gotten more creative, the offense has gotten better, and Taysom all of a sudden is being used better. I'm impressed with how they've used Taysom.
Maybe it's the right time, right? Where a couple of years ago, I didn't like taking Drew Brees off the field for Taysom Hill.
Yeah, agreed.
But given that as much as we've highlighted Derek Carr's struggles in the red zone, not just this year, but in previous years as well, Taysom Hill as the red zone change of pace might be just the right balance here for the Saints offense.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
So Saints offense against this Vikings defense, the Vikings' second worst pass rush grade in the NFL. Saints bottom 5, bottom 8 pass blocking unit. I don't know if the Vikings can take advantage of that.
But that's like the Vikings will blitz, but it is also beneficial for us that they're not a great pass rush team because Derek Carr has been good when he's not under pressure. So if we're expecting him to be in a clean pocket, it's another great point for the Saints.
I kind of like the Saints to have another good game offensively here.
Yes, unfortunate though it is, I'm agreeing with you. I also am going with the Saints.
Yeah, I like them. I like them a lot. I think we roll. I mean, again, y'all are going to hear me say this a lot, but if I'm expecting 12-5 or 11-6 or something like that, you're going to hear me say I think the Saints win a lot because besides Detroit, we're going to be the favorite in every game. If not a favorite, then like a pick'em situation. So all the Saints have to do is their part. They just have to do their part, play the level they can play, and not beat themselves. That's the story every single game. Even though it's on the road, even though it's against Josh Dobbs, like whatever the story, all that's irrelevant. All that's relevant is can the Saints have a good game plan, keep improving, show they're getting better. If they do all that stuff, we should dominate this game. We have the team and the scheme to dominate this game. The matchup is there. Everything is there. I think the Saints win running away. I'll be shocked if we struggle. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Give me your score prediction, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.